And guys, in this next news story, this story is coming from London ways, and a police search dog helped provide vital evidence to secure convictions for 5 men involved in the murder of a man in Barnet. Dog handler PC Neil Dobson and a police dog called Monty searched a flat off the high road in N20, which was the scene of the murder of 30-year-old Olsi Kuka. Olsi had been stabbed multiple times by a group of men who were searching for drugs and money believed that was in his property. However, the gang fled empty-handed because they couldn't find anything. However, Monty the dog managed to find £8,000 in cash hidden in the headboard of a bed that had not been found by the group.
I believe you. I believe you. It's in the headboard, is it? Yes, there is. A concealment. Oh my word, Monty. Well done, you bloody... Here you go. Yes! So there is a large amount of cash I can feel behind the headboard. Or amount of cash.
During a trial at the Old Bailey, jury heard the group all travelled to Olsi's home address shortly before 3 o'clock in the morning on the 11th of May 2022. They were split into two Mercedes cars that parked outside before the group forced entry into the flat and attacked Olsi, stabbing him numerous times. Guys, this is all just for drugs and money. This is what people are doing these days. Absolute madness. They then ransacked his flat, searching for his drugs and money they believed Olsi had in his property, and after the men left the flat empty-handed, police and paramedics were called. Despite the efforts of emergency services, Olsi sadly died a short time later. I just want to say rest in peace, Mr. Olsi. My condolences go out to your family. Post-mortem examination concluded that the stab wounds had been caused by at least 2 different knives, and there are also 4 metal ball bearings found in his scalp, consistent with being shot by an air weapon. A murder investigation led by homicide detectives from the Met Specialist Crime Command used CCTV and mobile phone analysis to identify the 5 men involved in the attack. Detectives discovered that one of the cars had travelled to the address 4 days before on a reconnaissance trip. After a 5-week trial at the Old Bailey that concluded just the other day, Daige Ramsey and Santana Thompson were convicted of the manslaughter of Olsi Kuka. Ozan Serran pleaded guilty to manslaughter on the first day of the trial. Bulent Bakir was convicted of conspiracy to rob, and Rubin Bernard was convicted of murder after a trial back in 2023, and they're all going to be sentenced at the Old Bailey on a later date, which is yet to be confirmed. Detective Chief Inspector Neil Rawlinson said the violence used in this attack was calculated, vicious and unrelenting. The 5 men had planned to rob Olsi and were prepared to use any force necessary in order to get what they wanted. We are thankful for the work of our police dog Monty, who was able to find vital evidence that helped secure a successful conviction against these dangerous men. And guys, in this next news story, the killer of a talented 18-year-old who had appeared on a TV show, The Greatest Dancer, has been found guilty of murder. The family of Kajetan Migdal shouted yes and clapped as the verdict that Patrick Sharp-Mead had been convicted was read out. Kajetan, who was a year 13 student at a school in Stevenage, had been out with 3 of his friends after his school prom night. Sharp-Mead mistakenly believed the group had spoken to his ex-girlfriend. He pulled out a large zombie knife from his trousers and plunged it into Kajetan's chest, the court said. I just want to say rest in peace, Kajetan Migdal, and my condolences go out to your family. He was rushed to hospital where he died in the early hours of the next morning, Luton Crown Court heard. A jury at Luton Crown Court heard Sharp-Mead pulled the knife from his trousers and plunged it 12.5 centimetres into Kajetan's chest whilst his friends fled. He was taken to Stevenage's Lister Hospital where he died. Kajetan, who was a member of a dance group called Prospects Fraternity, had also won first place in an under-14 category of World Street Dancing Championships. Prosecutor Jane Bickerstaff Casey told the jury it wasn't gang-related, he wasn't armed, he wasn't even rude to the defendant. This was cold-blooded murder, premeditated, motivated by jealousy, and perpetrated by the one boy who did not manage to run away from the defendant fast enough. Sharp-Mead of Stevenage denied murder, but the jury of 6 men and 6 women found him guilty. Rejecting the defence case, he was guilty of manslaughter on the grounds of diminished responsibility. The court heard that Sharp-Mead lived in a flat where Kajitan has parked his grey Skoda to be near the Holiday Inn where the prom was being held. Prosecutor said it was a wholly unprovoked attack in a residential street in Stevenage. The defendant and Kajitan Migadal were both 18 and complete strangers. What was supposed to have happened is that Kajitan should have enjoyed the school prom at the Holiday Inn. Then he should have headed on with his friends, the three of them, to Cambridge to enjoy his classmates at a club bar for an after party. None of that should have brought him into contact with the defendant. The prosecutor said they never made it to Cambridge. They were approached by the defendant, who was armed with a large zombie-style knife. He had it concealed down his tracksuit trousers. He verbally challenged Kajitan and his friends in the pretense that they had been following or speaking to his ex-girlfriend as she walked past the group. It caused Kajitan's friends to back away. He had not quite finished changing and momentarily stood his ground. The defendant approached, pulled out a knife and stabbed him straight into the chest. It pierced his heart. Kajitan staggered into the road and the defendant then fled the scene. Kajitan was treated in the road and quickly transferred to Lister Hospital. However, he died at 4:05 in the morning. The jury was told the defendant's ex-girlfriend was heading to Sharpmead's flat to collect a fur hood, and as she walked past the group, she was talking to a friend on her phone. The defendant, who was in the flat with the person taking the call, heard the conversation and could hear the four teenagers talking in the background. The prosecutor said as a result of hearing them in the background, he became very jealous. He said the defendant had been enraged by something that had not even happened. He was off his head. After the stabbing, Sharpmead returned to his flat and hid the knife in his mattress, and he left the scene. But at 2 o'clock in the morning, he was spotted by the police and arrested. 4 mental health experts were called upon to give their assessment of Sharpmead's autism, and there was a disagreement over the extent it affected his judgment. Sharpmead also has a diagnosis of ADHD and is suspected to have antisocial personality disorder. Defending Sharpmead is Casey acknowledged to the jurors that a dreadful thing happened on that night. She said something went wrong with the development of his brain, and it went wrong at a very early age when he was a baby, or perhaps when he was born. He just wasn't developed enough. He said, we say that his development disorders, however they are categorized, explain this killing. We say his actions that night make sense only as a result of these disorders. On that night, the combination of the different neurodevelopment disorder substantially impaired his ability to form a rational judgment and exercise rational control, so he ended up killing a person. So Sharpmead is going to be sentenced on the 17th of May. Following the verdict, Detective Inspector Justine Jenkins of Hertfordshire Police said this has been a devastating case for everyone involved. Kajitan was celebrating a milestone moment in his life and was looking forward to attending uni after the summer break. He was a bright young man who had his whole life ahead of him. He was a fantastic dancer and a wonderful son and brother. This was a senseless act of violence which resulted in a young man being killed in cold blood because he was in the wrong place at the wrong time by an enraged teenager who imagined a situation that simply did not exist. So guys, there's a number of stories coming out from the streets of the UK. Once again, if you already haven't done so, please subscribe to the channel. Please give this video a little like, as it will help with the algorithms and promote it and push it for others to review as well. Honestly, I really appreciate it. It's your boy GC. Keep it locked, keep it real.